For the first time, this episode of Gareth Jones on Speed is being put together using a unique computer called the MP4 Hamiltron. It will allow... Oh dear, it seems to have crashed before things got interesting. Again.
Hello, this is Gareth Jones on Speed, a programme which spends time considering the Mercury Music Prize, but perhaps not in a way that you might expect. With me to discuss this, Zog.
Hello.
And Richard Porter.
Hello.
Richard, the winner of the Mercury Music Prize this year, XX.
The XX.
The XX.
The widely tipped XX.
Yeah,
the widely tipped XX, to give them their proper and full correct title, whom, as I was just explaining, I didn't meet, but I saw the lead singer of said the widely tipped XX in Shoreditch the other day. I was in a taxi and there she was, about 3 foot from my face. I thought, my God, I'm hip for a moment, which I haven't thought since 1985, quite frankly. But your belief in XX is car-related, Richard.
Well, I just think that there should be more bands that take their names from the development codes of Austin Rover products from the 1980s.
Exactly.
The XX, of course, became the Rover 800. And if you're at a higher frequency of geekery, and I do believe we are, XX was also briefly the code name for the Aston Martin DB7.
Was it? As well?
Completely unrelated to the Rover 800, but obviously related to the Jaguar XJS.
And same parts.
Yeah,
modular.
Well, not modular. No, modular would be to imply it was some kind of terribly modern design. They took a lovely Loush old but rather dated coupe from the 70s, and Jaguar hoped to give it a quick tickle to make it last a bit longer. Ford said, tell you what, you can have a few more quids and you can do it properly, which became the XK8. Still an XJS underneath, but more bits are different. Yeah. The halfway house, stashed in a cupboard, and Aston Martin went, we could do with that, and Jaguar, well, you can have this, it's called Project XX, and they gave it to them, and that's it, and it became the DB7. And now, of course, it's become a Mercury-winning band as well. It's amazing what you can do with these old platforms.
And I was just thinking that, Rover 800 could be one of the sort of reassuringly nostalgic names for a band, like Mumford & Sons.
Yes. It sounds like a butcher, doesn't it, Mumford & Sons?
Yeah, it just pushed my finger in the ear, Aaron Sweater button, in a really unpleasant way. I just couldn't get over that.
Imagine an episode of John Peel where the names of the bands were just cars or projects.
That was Sao Penza. Not sure where they're from. Wasn't a letter in the envelope, or indeed any records or CDs. So if you are them, please don't get in touch again. So, welcome to the programme. We've got quite a treat this evening with a pair of sessions. Firstly, straight from Detroit, is the plastic sound of Pontiac Fiero. And later, for those of you who enjoy a bit of French soul, a couple of tracks from the Renault 5. Also, before midnight tonight, I'll be talking to the latest signing from VAG Records. It's a chap called Bugatti Veyron. But first, one from the archives. It's something I found recently on FlexiDisc, for those of you who remember those. It's from back in 1981, as far as the label can make out. Also seems to contain the word mincemeat, not entirely sure why. Anyway, this is a band that had its origins in the Vauxhall Chevettes, if you remember those, but this is Isuzu Piazza. Oh, no, that's no idea what that was. Bear with me, it's
This is Radio Butter.
God, no. Well, no, that's not it either. I do apologise. Here we go. Sorry.
Sniff Petrol with Gareth Jones on Speed!
Every now and again on this show we get a chance to talk about some of the cars that we've been driving. You know what I've been driving recently? A big old Land Rover Discovery. Zog and I shared some time in a Peugeot
3008.
Yeah,
that's right.
And also that lovely Lotus Evora, which you've seen me do a little bit of video of. I hope we've seen it. I'm going to talk about one of those cars in a minute. And Zog, we're going to talk about your car.
Yeah, we are.
But Richard, you've bought yourself a new old car, haven't you?
Yes, I have, yes.
Not a very old car. Just sort of half a generation ago.
It's 11 years old, but in many
Is it
ways...
11 years
it's
old?
11... My actual car is 11 years old.
Wow.
But it's a design that has its roots in the 70s, I suppose, at its heart.
Yeah. And inspired by the car which Giugiaro himself, in my opinion, the greatest car designer of all time. I love all his work. Even the dull stuff, I love it.
Even the...
Even the updated Ital.
Well, I'm glad you asked me that, Mr. Jones. That's a common misconception. He didn't design that. Harris Mann, who did the TR7 and the Princess and lots of other 70s sort of BL stuff that I think is becoming recognised as actually quite avant-garde.
Yeah.
But Harris Mann did...
In a vaguely horrible way.
You say that, but you see a Princess, particularly with the sort of quad headlights and without the chromy Wolseley grille on it. And you see one in the right colour, on the right wheels.
Very modern.
If it had been a Citroën or an Alfa Romeo, I think people would have gone, wow, that was why the 70s was actually quite a progressive decade. Yeah. Because it was British Leyland, because it was a bit of a laughing stock, people kind of go, oh, look at that comedy wedge of cheese car. But the TR7... that's not a pretty car, except the convertible actually sort of is. Very wedgy.
Well, I think, the Tesla convertible has dated much better than...
It's just that awful turret roof. The thing is, Harris Mann did also do the Morris Ital, but then, as is always the way with car engineering, you can't just take the clay model and then take some moulds off it and bung it down the production line. You have to do the production engineering, the way they actually work out how all the bits are going to go together. That's what Giugiaro and Ital Design did. They did the production engineering on Harris Mann's design for the facelift, and then BL went, aye, if we called it the Ital and pretended Giugiaro did it, it might make us look cool. And unfortunately it didn't, because it was the Morris Ital and it's one of the worst cars ever made.
But I still love Giugiaro.
Not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
I still love Giugiaro. I want the Columbus. I want to own a Columbus.
Oh,
Do you remember his concept, the Columbus?
Mad.
Big.
Was that the double-decker?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was a bit like the nearest thing we've actually got to it on the road. Don't laugh. Is the Isuzu Rodius, the
Sanyong Rodius, which has got a weird sort of double-deck look to it.
It's the nearest thing, but I love that Columbus. Look up the Columbus concept, the Giugiaro concept. But as I was saying before we went horribly off topic, Giugiaro reckoned that one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful car ever made was the Jag XJ6 Series 3, right? And your Jag, which is it's not an SK40. What was the generation beyond that? What do they call it? XX.
You're making me nerd out so much today.
Do it. You know, though, don't you?
This is the
it's codenamed. It is, for Jaguar people who know these things, it's an X308. So it's essentially...
Right.
It's the 90s one when they made it all curvy. It was originally called the X300, but it still had a 6-cylinder engine. They updated it again. They gave it the V8s out of the XK sports car.
This is when Ford had tenure, and they went
Ford
back
were
to...
well in there,
They said, to heck with your XJ40 squareness.
Yeah.
Let's make it look like the old Series 3, the car which Giugiaro said was the most beautiful ever.
Yeah.
Your car is really lovely, and you've got a kick-ass engine in it, bud.
Yeah, so it's the XJR, so it has the 4-litre V8 with a supercharger on it.
I do like superchargers.
Yeah.
No, you don't. We like superchargers. You like superchargers because superchargers were hip and cool in the 1930s. That's why you like them. You like Audi and Mercedes superchargers. That's what you like, of the old racing cars of the 1930s.
I do particularly like a Mercedes supercharger now. There's no doubt about that.
I like superchargers because I think that it's a far more linear solution than the turbocharger.
Absolutely.
And that supercharged Exige and Elise I drove are two of the most beautifully linear power delivered cars I've ever driven, so I like superchargers. I didn't know it had a supercharger.
Oh, it's got a supercharger on it. Yeah. You're not really aware of it, and of course that's one of the nice things. There's no sort of step up in power delivery. And
exactly, yeah, lovely.
I've always wanted a Jag XJ, and ever since I was a kid, and my parents had a solicitor who had a Jag XJ, and for a while I really wanted to be a lawyer when I was little.
So you could have one.
Because I had any particular desire to see justice done or immerse myself in the mechanisms of the legal system in this country, but just because I wanted a Jag XJ. Happily, I then realised I was too thick to be a lawyer and went back to wanting to write about cars instead. But I've always liked those big Jags. And
so you got a Fiat Panda?
Yeah.
Hey.
So no, I've got a Fiat Panda in my mind, but thankfully now I've actually been able to manifest my wants in a real Jaguar.
How many miles you got in it, mate?
Well, that's the thing. It was a bit of a find in this respect because it's 11 years old and it had, when I bought it, just under 32,000 miles on the clock. So a properly low mileage car. It even, and I've had this checked by a friend of mine whose dad had one back in the late 90s. It even smells new. He got in it and he went, oh my God, this smells like my dad's old car when we picked it up from the garage. It does. It has a sort of certain interesting factory sort of smell to it.
There is a bit of a science to this smell of new car thing.
Yeah.
You know, they do actually, car companies do research what chemicals to spray into a car or to treat things with in order to give them that new car smell.
There is, because I think that I could get into almost any new car and be able to tell you who made it. I think, although I don't know, because smell's a funny one. It's hard to have a memory of smell, but at the same time,
no. Olfactory stimulation of the memory.
Sorry, beg your pardon. Well, what I mean is, whoa. Okay, sorry, I was confusing smell with pain. I meant hard to have a memory of pain.
I think you touched a nerve.
No, I did. Well, but you won't remember it because you can't have a memory of pain. But no. Sorry, what I meant was, I think it's hard to order your memories of smell. I think smell often reminds you of something, and it's hard to place unless it's very contextualised.
It kind of pulls it up in a very primal way. It's not a very
you can. I sometimes walk past someone in the street and they're wearing a distinctive perfume or aftershave, and you go, "Oh, that's weird. That reminds me of someone. Who is it? And if unless it's somebody, if it's your wife or girlfriend,
somebody you had whatever.
Well, yeah, maybe. But if it's just someone you sort of vaguely have a meeting with every so often, you kind of go, "Oh, why do I know that smell? Why do I know that smell?"
I reckon I could do it. I swear. Do you remember You Bet? That program.
Yes,
Matthew Kelly. Kiss my big lovely beard. And sorry, that's something I did once. And
I think he divorced her, didn't he?
You bet, they'd have...
why.
And we've got Gareth Jones on, and we're going to blindfold him. We're going to put him in 3 cars of the late 1960s, early 1970s, and he's going to say whether they're Ford, BMC, or General Motors from the smell of the glue and the vinyl inside.
Yes.
I swear I could do it.
Yeah.
It's ringing a rather horrible cracked bell in my head. No,
I swear. Right now, I think Peugeots and Citroens smell the same because they come from the same thing. I did a load of research into this a while ago, and there are a number of reasons, and Zog's right. It is some of the, sometimes there's very specific chemicals that they try and use in the interior to create. They want a pleasant smell. But ideally, they actually want no smell, because then they can treat it as a blank canvas. And unfortunately, it's almost impossible because plastics smell, leather smells, but it's heavily treated in modern cars, so it's not necessarily a nice old rich smell of an old Bentley. They do all this. I got so much research on this that I didn't know what to do with it because it was too much to write in a column. But anyway, my Jag smells like a new Jag from 10 years ago or so.
Unless you own a Fiat Multipla, you get inside it, you go, God, can you smell glass?
And here we are, madam, the 2011 Honda Jazz.
Oh, lovely interior. What's that smell?
Nothing, it's perfectly normal. Why not take the driver's seat?
Thank you. That reminds me, I must visit my grandmother in the home.
Gareth Jones on Speed or Sniff Petrol! Make up your mind!
Richard's changed his car recently. The Lexus is now painted orange and masquerading as the General from the Dukes of Hazzard, isn't it?
The General Lexus, as it's called, by a guy called Phil, who bought it off me for not much money for one of these banger rally things. And he's just been to Rome and back in it.
Great.
Without hitch. He was apparently, so I heard from one of the other participants on the rally, quite smug during it because the air conditioning on that Lexus actually worked really well. And it was really hot driving all the way down through France and Italy. And everyone else had paid 150 quid for, a sort of moderately scruffy Rover 214 or a Ford Escort or something like that. Didn't even come with air conditioning in the first place. And Phil was getting out of the windows of the Lexus, I should add, going, oh, nice and cool in there. So Lexus is long gone, and now
replaced by a nice big Jag, of which we're going to hear lots about on this programme from time to time.
Yeah, I'll keep you updated on it. I mean, hopefully there won't be much to report except its ongoing loveliness, but it's a magnificent thing. We'll have to all go out for a trip in it, because I know I came around in it the other week, but we'll have to take a run out in it. It's lovely.
I can look forward to that. Yeah.
Talking about changing cars, my Sora. It's time for me to move the Sora on. I'm considering many cars to replace it. I'm considering an S-Max. I'm considering a Mercedes R-Class, which which you know I love, and I'm probably the only man in the world, but I do love that car.
Hey, they've got to be cheap, surely. Second hand,
You
they've got to
think
be.
there's a lot of car for your money there,
Bargains,
and I like that idea.
Because no one except you wants one.
Exactly, that's fine.
You
that's
know
my
you're
kind
going
of
to.
car.
This show will go online, and then you will wake up to. Well, hang on, how many R-classes have they sold? 4. So you're going to wake up to 4 emails to people going, do you want mine? Because I don't anymore.
You might even get a trade offer for your Lexus, for your
Sora,
Sora.
yeah. The other car I'm considering is the Peugeot 5008, which is one of the few cars that sort of approaches the S-Max in terms of what it does. Right, but I couldn't get on my hands. I tried to get my hands on a 5008 to go to Le Mans this year, and it turned out to be a 3008. So if the S-Max is the 5008, then the C-Max is the 3008. You know what I mean? 3008 is the C-Max.
Yeah. Is the...
In terms of size.
You're saying it's smaller.
Yeah, it's smaller. Built on the same
It's
platform.
2,000 smaller.
Exactly. It's 2,000 things smaller.
Yes.
And whilst I think the 5008 looks kind of sturdy and quite butch and handsome, I do think that the 3008 looks like it's got learning difficulties, which a number of Peugeots do look a bit like that these days.
It's basically an awful looking car.
I don't think it's awful.
Oh,
the front
it's
end,
awful.
the front end looks like it's got learning difficulties. It looks like something from Wallace and Gromit. This sort of expression, you know.
But it also, to
I
me,
think-
everything is wrong with it. I just
Really?
think the detailing is not quite right, and the wheelbase looks too short.
It might look too short, but I think, because I just spent another couple of weeks in France driving around this Land Rover, and there are tens of thousands, literally, of 3008s. They were everywhere.
Really?
And they all seem to be able to manoeuvre in the city very nicely with their short wheelbase. Function follows form.
yeah, I mean-
it's not beautiful.
No, I'm not having that. I just think that the stylists weren't paying attention to the engineers when they gave them the briefing on the package. It's
I don't know. I think it'd be a
Um,
bit harsher. I mean, because briefly, my take on the look of it is that it's certainly, by no stretch of the imagination, the most beautiful car out there. It's not a great looker, but it's
Tidy.
It looks basically like so many other of those kinds of versatile family vehicles, I think. You know, it's in that range of being, it's not a small car, it's not enormous. To me, I think a fairly generic look to it.
You drove it.
Yeah.
You drove it around France.
And rather liked it, although I have to say it was a very limited driving experience in almost all of the driving I did was on the motorway, so we didn't really have much of a chance to try it on different road services and in and out of town.
Cruise control
I can certainly say, cruise control worked fine and was very easy to work out, and this is a very strong point in its favour. I thought, very small thing, but when I had my hands on the wheel on the motorway and thought, let's try this cruise control, let's see if we can work out how to turn this on, without having to look at the manual, and after a couple of pressing the wrong thing or pressing the right thing for the wrong amount of time or whatever, had it figured out, and it's all working. So yes, it was a great little vehicle for the Le Mans trip also because of the space and because of that opening 2 ways back worked out nicely.
It's got a drawback though. It
makes some sick rush into your mouth every time you see it.
Oh no!
I'm playing the devil's advocate.
The devil's advocate.
I'm drinking the devil's advocate.
Oh, that's strong.
It's a bit hot, actually.
It has got a drawback though. It does, like a lot of cars, have a tailgate as opposed to a lift-up boot like an estate car. It's more of a station wagon, drop down and lift up.
A split, yeah, it's like a Range Rover, yeah.
But my dad had a real problem with those. We always had Ford Cortina estates. We had all the models of Ford Cortina estate, but it was interrupted once by a Simca 1301 station wagon, which had a drop-down back. Lovely, right? Dad thought this was a great idea. He had a TV shop, and he would hump TVs into the back of the car. We repaired and sold TVs, right? That car gave Dad a slip disc, because once you've got it on the platform, you then got to push it further than if you could actually get over the lip of the car. So whilst the tailgate sounds like the perfect loading device, it just isn't.
Well, I think a tailgate is a good thing. I'm going to argue for the tailgate because lifting difficulties aside, and the tailgate isn't right for everybody all the time, but there are certain things. Let's say you're going diving, let's say you've got your gear in the back of the car. Tailgate down is a perfect thing to sit on, to put your dry suit, your wetsuit on and off.
Yeah.
That's
But
just taking your muddy boots, all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
does the Land Rover Discovery not go some way to mitigating this by having the fold-down bit with a bit that is scooped in so you can get closer to the back of the thing, which brings us, I suppose, onto the fact that you have been driving and discovering.
That was exactly what I was about to say.
Seamless.
I've always wondered, looking at the back of the Discovery, the tailgate, which has the left-hand side higher than the right-hand side, it's got a notch cut into it. Why do they do that other than a styling thing somewhere to stick the wheel on the back? Then you fold it down and you realise, that critical half length of the tailgate, you can now reach into the back of the car, because on the 3008, do you realise what we were doing? To get stuff out of the back of the car, we'd fold down the tailgate, we'd go, I can't reach. I use the back door. And we were accessing stuff from the back doors rather than the tailgate of the car all the time. But it did have this really lovely, almost Jerry Anderson Thunderbird things. You fold the tailgate down, bits of things happening and sliding. It was a bit like watching the back of one of those vehicles that have been converted for people who use wheelchairs getting into it. There's a lot of stuff folding on and going on, and I kind of like that about it. But the tailgate, I'd always go for a lift-up tailgate. The Discovery solution was really spot on. That's the answer. That was an unbelievable car, by the way. But I won't knock the 3008. I think, horses for courses, that car gave us fab economy. That car gave us plenty of room, apart from the rubbish tailgate. Short wheelbase, it was manoeuvrable in tight situations and stuff. That's what most people want. Most people do not need the kind of ability, the breadth of capability, as Land Rover themselves say, that something like a Discovery offers. So I'm a big fan of the 3008. I think it's dead right. Sorry,
but I just wanted to say the one thing that I would really criticise on the 3008, and I don't think it's the only car on the road at the moment that has this feature, but it's the first time I've driven a car with this feature, and I hated it, an electronic automatic parking brake. So to describe this for anybody that hasn't come across it before, you don't have a handbrake lever. Instead, you have an automatic electronic brake that applies itself when you come to a stop and that releases when you pull away. Now, I've got two problems with this. First of all, there was the embarrassing 5 minutes when I was sitting there in the car trying to pull away and expecting the brake to release and it not releasing.
We were in reverse and you didn't know how much throttle to give it. You hadn't driven the car before.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, this is something that happens a lot.
I wasn't giving quite enough gas, and then it's as simple as that. There were those embarrassing few minutes. But beyond that, there shouldn't be anything in the drivetrain, in the important mechanical bits of your car, that you can't easily override with something manual, something mechanical. I don't quite trust the electronics of a vehicle to work well enough of the time that I'm going to have to rely on an electronic parking brake.
No, it's fair enough. There's something built into those electronic parking brakes. By law, I think, in fact, they have to have an emergency function built in.
An override?
Well, no. So, but this is in case your, I don't know, the brake pedal falls off or has a grapefruit jammed under it or something like that. The logic being, you could ease the car to a halt on the handbrake. Actually, with a conventional mechanical handbrake, that would be quite dodgy because it would just lock up the back wheels unless you're very sensitive. But with an electronic handbrake, if you've got a car that's got electronic handbrake, feel free to try this, but don't tell anyone that we told you to do it, because you might get rear-ended. What it does, if you hold the lever up while you're moving along, or hold the button pushed in if you have something like a VW Passat where it's just a push button, for long enough, the car will do a full-on emergency ABS triggering braking stop.
Really?
Yes, it will pull you tight in your seatbelt and make your eyeballs pop out.
Please, just from a legal point of view, please check in your handbook
do it
that
on
this
a quiet
is the case.
road. Yeah, well, I mean, yes.
Please check that your car does have this before you attempt it.
I've done it in a BMW 7 Series, a VW Passat, and I think a Jaguar S-Type as well, and it worked in all of those.
Violet, get the lawyers on the phone. I think we're going to need them.
I think we're just going to don't do anything stupid.
Can I just use the Ferrari defence? I am not telling anyone to do anything. I am presenting you with some information.
You've been listening to Gareth Jones on Speed with Richard Porter and his lovely new Jag.
Goodbye.
Me and our
3008.
Yeah, nice and economically it was too, yeah. And so we promised at the top of the show we were going to talk about your car. You better explain.
Well, I've got a little list, someone wants. I have a list of all the crap I removed from the car the last time I gave it a good old clear out. And, we thought we might just finish the show by putting that list to music.
Not a bad idea. Yeah. Say goodbye, Richard.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, Zog.
Goodbye.
I was Gareth. See ya. Here is the list of stuff found in the back of Zog's 944.
Okay. Map of northern France and Belgium. 2 A to Z London atlases, both missing all of the pages required to navigate north or west London. 1 mummified apple core. Assorted partial pages from A to Z's, some heavily stained with coffee. 1 broken aftermarket cup holder. 2 flyers for fetish clubs in central London. Don't know where those came from. Leaflet about places to visit in Dorset. 2 pairs of sunglasses, slightly broken. A third of a packet of pasta shapes, mouldy, under passenger side carpet. Kebab. 1 pot strawberry yoghurt, sell by date 6 months past, under driver's seat. 2 parking tickets, unpaid. 1 cassette tape of Introducing by DJ Shadow. 7-inch off-cutter radiator hose. 37 assorted used parking scratch cards and sticky tickets for Brent, Hackney, Fulham, Westminster. Set of dinosaur stickers, free with the Saturday Guardian. 1 ski glove. 1 pair seized and rusty pliers. 4 paper coffee cups containing dregs of latte in various stages of decomposition. Set of jump leads, incomplete. 1 British Sausage Council promotional watch. 1/4-inch drive socket set, broken. 4 months of bank statements that I've been looking for the last 3 months. 1 UK Atlas, missing the page for South East England. 1 packet of latex gloves, empty. 2 tyre pressure gauges. 1 electric tyre pump.
To send us an email, see pictures, get song lyrics, join our Facebook fan site or follow us on Twitter, go to garethjones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed is made in London by Whiz Bang.
Gareth Jones!